Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Channel. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and today we're going to do something just a little different. We're going to mess around with this New York Strip Loin that I picked up at Costco. It's a prime New York Strip Loin. It's about 15 pounds, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. I'll be right back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Alright y'all, one of the things that I really love about Costco is that it's really easy to buy these whole sub-primals of beef so that you can cut them up yourself. One of the things I don't like about Costco is when they cut individual steaks that they sell you, most of their stuff is blade tenderized, and they have a warning label, warning right on the label usually. It tells you to cook it at 145 to 165 degrees because it's blade tenderized. And the reason they do that is because they do not wet age their beef at all. They usually, it comes from the processor directly in the store. The store finishes processing it, you know, they cut it into sections and they throw it right out on the floor to sell. So they don't have it sitting in a warehouse wet aging at all. Usually, you know, a lot of the meat that's sold in retail stores is wet aged to some extent, at least for, you know, a couple weeks or so. But Costco, they process their meat right away. So I mean, they could have been processed at the slaughterhouse, you know, 2 or 3 days ago, and then it's in the store. So that's one of the bad things about it. But like I said, the good thing about it is you can buy these whole sub-primals. You can either wet age it yourself, or you can actually dry age it, which I do a little bit of both. What I'm going to do with this one is I actually had this sitting in the refrigerator already for about a week. I did buy this last week. They had a great sale. It was $25 off all these strip loins, which made this Prime Strip Loin about $7 a pound, which is a lot cheaper than it normally is. Normally like $9, $10 a pound. So it was a really good deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down and I'll be right back. All right, I got it out of the packaging, and what I'm going to do, like I said, these things are great. One of the things you can do with them that I like to do a lot of is just leave them in that cryopack bag and stick it out in your garage refrigerator or just in your regular refrigerator. As long as it's under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you can keep it in there for 2 to 3 weeks to wet age it. Another thing you can do is you can buy the My Dry bags. I'll have a link to another video up above here that shows you when I did some dry aging, but you can do a dry age on this thing. But what I'm going to do with this one, I'm actually going to cut this in half, maybe a little bit less than half, because what I'm going to do with it, I'm going to actually make a roast, a New York strip roast out of part of it, and then the other part I'm going to cut into steaks, about 1.5 inches each. So I'm going to actually make the roast up tonight, and it'll be part of this video, and the steaks I'm going to cut up, and then we'll cook them at a later date down the road. But so that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to leave pretty much all the fat cap on it. I'm not going to mess with it. It's really up to you. You can trim all the fat off. You can trim some of the fat off. You can trim it any way you want. That's what I like about getting the whole primal. You can pretty much do what you want with it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this roast right here. Like I said, you can make this any size you want. That's the great thing about buying these whole sub-primals. You got a lot of wiggle room on what you can do. You're not at the mercy of your butcher. One of the things I got to tell you is I'm not using my good knives because they're packed up because we're in the middle of moving. So I'm using these cheapo knives I had left out that I really don't care about if they get lost. So that's why I'm using this, and it's not the sharpest knife in the world. So right here I got about, like I said, 2.5 to 3 pound strip roast. And I'm going to season this up, and right when I get back, and I'll show you what I'm going to do when I put it in the bag. All right, I got my roast separated here, and I got it in a pan because I'm going to go ahead and season it up, and I want to make sure I don't get the seasonings all over the counter here. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm leaving all the fat on. I'm not gonna trim it. Well, it does have quite a bit of a chunk right here, so I might just trim just this little end piece here, just so I don't have a big chunk of fat going in there. So I will trim that off and clean it up a little bit. But the rest of it, I'm going to kind of leave and let this render a little bit when we're cooking it up, finishing it up on the grill. But so what I am going to do is season this up. So I'm using the Man Cave Meals Beef Mojo. It's got a little bit of coffee, salt, garlic, onion. Really good flavor profile for beef. It's got a little thyme, oregano, little MSG, which some people may not like, but I'm a fan of it. Adds that umami to beef that you need. That's it. I'm just gonna give it a nice even coat. And I already got my vacuum bag ready to go. And what I'm gonna do with this roast, I'm gonna cook it for 6 hours at 134 degrees. Then we're gonna take it off and finish it on the Camp Chef. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this in the bag, get it sealed up, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, since I got my roast in, I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these up into steaks. And like I said, I'm going to try to do at least an inch, inch and a half on each steak. Try to make these as even as possible. I usually will take just like 2 fingers here and kind of use that as a guide. Start from the end and just kind of do a 2-finger width. And that's going to get me right at about a little over an inch. Like I said, this is not the sharpest knife that I have. It's one of my cheaper knives that I really don't care if I lose it during my move. But you get what I say in here. So it's not the easiest to use. But there you go. I got, that's my first one cut. Very good size. And you can see this is prime, so it's well marbled. Like I said, I am going to leave most of this fat on and trim it after we cook it up and eat it. But you see that? I'm going to get as many of this type of size steak out as I can. Then I'm going to season them up and vacuum them up. I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I got that all cut up, and as you can see, I got 4 really good sized steaks out of that. About 1.5 inch, and one of them here is probably a little bit more than that, almost 2 inches. But I got at least 3 meals out of it for 4 or 5 people. So, you know, got 4 decent size here, 4 decent size steaks, and that roast that's cooking for tonight. So yeah, right at $100, we're at $7 a pound for prime New York strip. So I'm gonna go ahead and season this up with the same stuff I used on the roast, the Beef Mojo from Man Cave Meals, you can only get at the Atlanta Grill Company. Link below. I'll go ahead, I'm just gonna put a little bit on here because I am gonna freeze these so that we can cook them later. That's it guys, I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum these up, toss them in the freezer. I'll see you back when I get the roast out and we finish it up. I'll be back. All right, all, I got my New York strip roast out of the bag, and I'm gonna throw it on my Camp Chef Smoke Pro. I'm gonna get a little bit of smoke and a little bit of color to it. Like I always do, I'm gonna put just a little bit more seasoning to replace any that might have washed off in the bag. Like always, I'm gonna season all sides of it. And this has been in there right at about 6 hours at 134. So it's going to come out pretty medium rare. The grill should not raise the temperature very much. That's it. I'm gonna get it out on the smoker, and I'll see you guys back when it's done. Well, there you go, guys. I just took it off. Some nice color to it, some nice smoke. Again, I'm using my dull knife, but take a look at that. Smells great. I'm gonna go ahead and do a long slice here so you can see that it's medium rare, or at least more medium. Take a look at that, all the juice coming out. Grab me a chunk of that with the bark on it. Oh yeah, that is delicious. Try this, guys. Prime New York strip roast. It's great instead of a prime rib if you don't like a lot of fat on your roast. Highly recommend taking a New York strip. Cook it at 134 degrees for 6 hours and then sear it up. It's amazing. Check it out. Gotta get a picture of that. Well, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on our Fire and Water Cooking podcast. And make sure you follow us on the Fire and Water Cooking channel. Like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you again. Happy holidays. If I don't have another video out before then, probably be at my new Fire and Water Cooking studio after this. So have a happy holiday. I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking video.